Hi, I'm Justis. I'm currently a junior at Cal State Fullerton after having transferred from Fullerton Community College. A couple things about me. I'm a giant nerd. Pokemon, Digimon, anime, things, books. Anything you pretty much ask me is pretty much I'm nerdy about. And that's practically the vast majority of the time I spend outside of school. I do nerdy things. I also am a U.S. Army veteran, just to kind of put that out there. I'm interested in becoming an educator because I want to be a positive force in teenagers' lives and in that crucial transitionary period where they're asking a bunch of questions and they're discovering who they are and everything like that. And I want to be that positive role model that a couple of my teachers were for me when I was in high school. I specifically want to teach English because I have a giant passion for English. I love the English language. I like writing and reading. I love reading. And I love literature in general. So I want to use that passion to enrich high school students' lives, plain and simple. My ethnic identity is, I guess, a little complicated, but I guess kind of not. My family, we've always kind of identified as Hispanic and Native or Indigenous to America, which is still kind of true to this day, but we don't really have too much of a cultural standpoint where we kind of just identify as one culture and kind of go with that, and we have traditions with that. We kind of just lived. We had Hispanic influences, like certain dishes we'd make growing up, Hispanic influenced. But the other thing is I also grew up in a primarily mixed family, meaning I was a stepson to a stepmother, she's practically the only mother I've ever known. Long story. So we have a lot of different cultures within our house that we kind of go off of. European, Hispanic, Spain, from Spain, Native American kind of goes in there too, and other things as well. I mean, it's not that this question was really hard for me either. It's just that it's kind of complicated and it's not really something that I always ever think about, because it's just part of my life and I don't really give it too much of a thought. And it's kind of I didn't think it was going to be hard to think about because it was just kind of there, but it was actually kind of a welcome request because it made me really think about my family and my past and how we are and who we identify as, especially because I've been mistaken for full-blown Mexican. I've been mistaken for Asian by a lot of people, surprisingly enough. So it's kind of interesting to really think about it for myself. Concerning the free write sorry, the free write we did, I had a standpoint that multicultural education was simply just taking and giving the cultures from multiple different people, multiple different sources, and taking all of that combined knowledge and taking that different pieces from different cultures, from African culture, from Asian culture, from all of those kinds of cultures and different races within those, and learning from them and using lessons that are taught from them to enrich our lives as a whole. After reading the pages and chapters we needed to read, I felt like I was on the right path with that. But after diving deeper into the subject of multicultural education, having it and how Sonia Nieto and Patty Bodie define it with those 7 definitions. The multicultural education is anti-racist education, basic education, important for all students, pervasive education for social justice, and is a process and is a critical pedagogy. I have to say I agree, especially with the anti-racist education portion of it. It's not something that I was initially thinking of when I was talking about multicultural, but it is something that has to be thought of because it is a part of the history of it's part of the sad history of our nation, and it's something that it needs to be discussed and it needs to be talked about so that there's an understanding between everyone, and then there's an empathy between everyone, that things happen and we need to make sure that these things do not happen again or continue to disappear. And her point in the chapter that schools and education tend to hide away from those ugly topics, those hard, crucial topics. I really very, very 100% agree that that's not something that we should ever be doing. It's the ugliest moments in life and in history that we need to be paying the most attention to, so that history does not repeat itself. It's that old saying of, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. And it's just, I really find that that's really super important, that we don't hide away from the uglier or less safe or less cute parts of history. Because we won't learn anything otherwise. A sheltered life is not something that is something that's hard to get out of, and it's going to take a while. And multicultural education, like she said too, is a process, and it's going to take a minute. Within the statements that Nieto and Bodhi really kind of had in their book, I really didn't think that there was anything I was missing. It was just not, I was just not diving deep enough and explaining well. So maybe it was just like a slight loss of connection for me. And if I could change my rewrite, I would definitely be adding in some things about anti-racist sentiments, and truly delving into not hiding away from the truth, because that also is a part of multicultural education. And we can't censor that. So, yeah. Thank you.